Good afternoon, bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Estamos aquí otro domingo celebrando nuestra cultura. We're here another Sunday celebrating our culture. We're extremely excited to be able to celebrate just life and unity and love as well, because that's what brings us together. So we have lots to talk about today. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But just to let you know, ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Is a platform where we talk about anything and everything. Hablamos aquí de todo un poco. Nos vemos todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. We're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are on Pod TV, which is on Roku, which is one of the channels on Roku. Estamos en Roku TV y uno de los canales se llama Pod TV. So estamos aquí todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde. Ya llevamos 3 años. We've been doing this for about 3 years. So we're going to go ahead and bring our co-host in, Maddie Garcia, so we can get started with our conversations for today. Hola, Maddie, ¿cómo estás?
Buenas tardes, ¿qué pasa, mujer?
Yes. Tell me about your energy. Tell me why you chose to wear what you're wearing today.
I'm just so excited. It's just everything. I think it's been a wonderful week for our culture, and I am excited. I know it's been a complete week, a complete 7 days, 8 days, I don't care how many, from the Bad Bunny halftime show, the Benito Bowl, and I think the energy is still in the air. Every time I open up my social media, everywhere I go, that's kind of everything that is popping up on there. So I thought I would pay a little homage and wear red and white and and honor la cultura. You're muted, Viviana. We can't hear you.
We're all about colors, right? And our culture. And when I say our culture, I'm not just talking about Latin America or the Hispanics, but just everybody in the world, right? Even when we look at the world map, there's nothing but colors, If we look at the international flags, is colors, is, every country has selected their flag. Everything has a meaning, right? The colors of the flag, the emblem in the middle of the flag or on the side or whatever. So everything has its purpose. And when I'm not a football fan, American football fan. I love any sport live, like hockey, football, soccer. I love any sport live. Of course, as you guys know, I'm a basketball mom, so I love basketball, whether it's live or not. But when I saw the Super Bowl, I watched it for my initial purpose was to watch it to watch the halftime show, right? But then as it got closer, I learned more about the Latin players that were playing on both teams. So that was like extra exciting. And of course, as you guys know, I'm Colombian. So I was rooting for New England because of number 0, Martinez. And I was like, oh my God, even though I know the basics of the sport, Maddie, but I was like, oh my God, they're saying his name a lot, And even though they lost, but the game was so competitive at the beginning, and they were saying it was because of Martinez and how he was performing. So it was like a double excitement for me. And I was actually home alone, but I still wore my jersey and I was still rooting for every aspect of the ball game. And I just think that it was amazing. The energy was amazing. Even though at that moment I didn't understand everything about the halftime show, because I didn't. But just watching social media and just kind of gaining more knowledge afterwards, I became even more excited. Mm-hmm. So tell me how you felt like the day of.
Same thing here. It's like it was so much visually. It was it's like you're trying to kind of pay attention to everything, and then we're not sure about what everything that is going on, because like there were clues about everything from the beginning. And like you said, as as the days went by, I learned more things. But like at the moment, it was just like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Who is he gonna bring out? What song is he gonna sing? Like I have bets with my family. He's gonna open up with this one. No, he's gonna open up with that one. And then it's like the Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, it's a very controversial song. And my husband was like, no, he's not gonna sing that on national TV. And I'm like, bet you $20 he is. And it was like we had like all kinds of, so every time something happened, it's like we would scream. And like in the middle, he paid homage to like the original reggaeton artist, and he played like old school reggaeton songs. And like when those songs came on, like I literally got on my feet and I was like, oh my God, he's gonna bring one of them out. And it was like, it was just like every corner he turned, it was like, okay, what's gonna happen? You're trying to predict what's gonna happen. So it was pure excitement. And then of course when Ricky Martin came out, I lost my marbles. I'm like jumping on the couch by myself. And then of course he's singing Lo que le pasó a Hawaii, which happens to be my favorite song of the entire album. So I'm like jumping, and it's like it was crazy. So my husband's like, we are watching the Benito Ball, not the Madeline Ball. So can you please be quiet? Because I wouldn't stop singing. So it was just awesome to kind of again, the energy, because it was more the energy than anything else. The film, and it felt the cinematography of the whole thing. It felt that it was a concert, not so much for the people that were at the Super Bowl, but for the people that were at home. He took the time to make sure that he addressed the camera and that he looked at people and that he connected not only the big party that he had going on, but to everybody that was at home. And that, I think that meant the world. I keep saying this could have been the Benito and Puerto Rico Bowl. It could have been just for them. And he made sure that everybody that he could remember at the moment was included, and I think that was beautiful. It was amazing. The message of love over anything was present, and it came across in everything he said. And yeah, like you said, the more I watch it, like I have seen it at least 10 more times since last Sunday. And the more I watch it, I've seen reviews, I've seen people reactions to it. And the more I watch it, the more I fall in love with it, because the more I keep finding out like little nuggets and little things that make it even more special for me, being Latina, being Dominican, being Caribbean.
Oh yeah. It was extremely exciting. I know for a moment I was like that's it. Like when it first finished, I was like, I must be missing something with the message, because I kept on thinking
Mhm.
about the message with Shakira and Jennifer Lopez when they perform and they had the cages and stuff like that. So it's almost like you have to kind of go back and like analyze things, and it was so massive, right? Like the choreography of things was massive in reference to, and his time was short because it was only 12 minutes, 12 or 13 minutes, where I think
Mhm.
typically it's like almost 20
13 minutes.
minutes. So it was like shortened, and I
Mhm.
just think that he accomplished so much. Even if you hate Latinos, if you hate other cultures, right? Just the art behind it of you did
Mhm.
all of this in 12 minutes. And I've organized events and stuff like that, and something always goes wrong, right? But you don't, as an audience, you don't really see the wrong, right? As a performer you may see the wrong, but as an audience you don't see the wrong. And I promise you, I saw it to like perfection, like, and I'm sure stuff went wrong, but I just saw it
Mhm.
to perfection, and I think the message was heard. And my favorite part was when everybody came out with the different flags. And
Mhm.
I know the Latinos are big on saying like the United States is not America. Like that's not something new to us, That has been a message that has been with us for a long time. That is North America, South America, Latin America. All of it is Americas. So that was big for me because
Mhm.
we were being educated about what being
Yes.
American means, right? And even though maybe for so many years some of us were thinking that America was just the United States. Now it should kind of bring a little bit more that we're bigger than just the United States. It's all of us, like from the all the way to the north, all the way to the south. So for me, that was it was like me listening to one of your poems. Like I got the chills. It was just amazing to see the unity in it. One of the biggest things that I've heard in this last week, because I've talked to, Caucasians, blacks, just people from different cultures, younger, because I have younger kids, so I've asked like, hey, what's going on in your circle, and I think, as always, we always have haters, and I welcome the haters, right? Because I think that when you welcome haters, you have the opportunity to educate the haters because they may not know. So I know one of the biggest things was we didn't understand what he was saying, which I totally understand, and it is very true. But it's like, hey, if we go to an opera, right, where they're singing in
Mhm.
Italian, then we can swallow that, right? Like that's an easier event to go to. But is it
Mhm.
really that it's another language, or is it really that you're really hating on the culture? Does that really make you racist, right? Because if
Mhm.
if you didn't if you didn't understand the language, then you wouldn't go to an opera, or you would hate on the opera, I wanted to know, like, what were your thoughts behind a comment like that?
Yeah, I mean, we I think we've heard it all, and it's like, you try to be, how can I put it? You try to kind of measure your words, when you respond, because you don't want to give the energy that they're giving to you. But I agree completely with the comment. When you go to the opera, you enjoy music, you enjoy the artist, with whatever language is coming out of their mouth. You can obviously see the talent of the person, that they are an amazing singer. So I think, with this particular show, it was more about the music. Like, even, I've heard, that there's a lot of people complaining about his lyrics and the words, and you know and I think he did an amazing job keeping it PG, and cutting, because he used songs in there that I was like, there's no way he's playing that song. Like, he's not singing that song. Like, he put me in panic mode for a couple of times. I was like, oh my God. Especially when Safaera came on, I was like, no, he is not playing this song. And he did. So he did a great job keeping it PG. But it was more about the rhythms, it was more about the music, it was more about the beat, it was more about the dancer. I had a friend of mine call out and say he didn't sound good, like his singing wasn't good, and he's not a good dancer. Like, that was kind of like the complaint that I heard from our culture. But at the same time, it was because he did a show. It was more than just the singing and the dancing and the performing. Like I said, the whole thing was a movie. It was literally a movie. I've seen a couple of reviews done by people that study cinematography, that study movies and videos, and like literally they were saying about all the different techniques as far as capturing the moment that were used during the halftime show. um and he it was like he recorded from the front, from the back, from the middle, from the end, from behind. It was like everything. We got a little bit of everything. So I think the sentiment that we're trying to evoke, that the more that we watch it, that the more we look into it, it kind of becomes like even better. I think that's across, because like all the immediate reactions, like you said, it was like, oh my God, what did we just watch? It was like everybody was in shock. Like, again, you mentioned Shakira and J-Lo, they dance, and we saw like the immediate message, but it was a lot of dancing, it was a lot of bringing their own culture. Shakira brought in, not only her Colombian roots, but she brought all of it. She's Arabic and Colombian, and and whatever, and she brought all of that to the stage. And they sang in Spanish and English, and so it was more about their music, about their hits, about their dancing. With Bad Bunny, it was not so much about his music and the hits and the dancing. It was about the message. And I think that was like the biggest difference.
Oh yeah, because it was like telling a story. Telling the story of like the history and people that have impacted our community. Mentioning Puerto Rico, mentioning New York. I was listening to the Breakfast Club right during the week, and they were talking about people not really, the complaint about not understanding what the music, what the lyrics were saying. But they were saying, one of the gentlemen on the Breakfast Club was saying it's about culture, right? So like, if you grew up in a in a neighborhood where multiculturalism existed, then, like, for example, in New York, you grow up with black people, white people, Dominicans, Colombians, everything. So you're used to listening to hip hop, R&B, cumbia, bachata. You listen to everything, and everybody listens to it all the time. Versus if you grow up
Mhm.
in another area of the country where maybe you only listen to a particular type of music, then it's harder for you to listen to that other stuff, right? And like you said, we're listening to the beat, we're listening to the rhythm of the music. And I think that's part of it too. I usually try to look at life like a pie chart, right? And there's like different
Mhm.
percentages that go into things. And I think a big portion is cultural, right? I was having a conversation with someone recently about marketing. And even marketing, you have to allocate a certain percentage to culture. You can't market to everyone the same way. So it's the same thing
Mhm.
with listening to our music. Hey, you might not understand every word, even if you are Puerto Rican. Maybe there's some lingo that was used and you were like, oh my God, what does that mean? Right? Like, you have to go to the Urban Dictionary to find out what the word means. But it's the message. And I know with Bad Bunny, he educates a lot through his music. And I just think that that's the part that, one of the things that this was my personal thought. We don't have to like the music, but I think that we should embrace the culture, embrace what it's bringing. You don't have to like it, but just embrace it.
Mhm. Like you said, he educates. It's like, how can I put it? Um, one reason why he's always been praised from the beginning, and for achieving everything that he has achieved, is that he hasn't watered down himself to be able to be swallowed by others. He's like, like, even like two productions ago, like his album was called, I do whatever the hell I want. Yo hago lo que me da la gana. I do whatever I want. Yo hago lo que me da la gana. And the one thing that he has done is that he keeps his language. Even for the Super Bowl, they had a sign language interpreter there, and they actually had two. They had an American sign language, and they had a Puerto Rican sign language. So that was huge and important for him. He talks about his jerga. He's been able to keep his jerga, his Puerto Rican, language, the street language. Like, that's what he brings to the forefront. Sometimes I'm listening to his songs and I'm not sure what he's talking about, because it could be a word or a particular phrase that they use in Puerto Rico that is not generic, and it's like, okay, what is he saying there? And it takes a little bit, a couple of listenings to kind of be able to grasp what he is saying. And even though he does cuss a lot, even though he says things that might not necessarily be what I want my 5-year old son, child, my 2-year old granddaughter to be singing, he does speak a lot of truth in what he says, in his protest, and the way that he expresses himself. And sometimes I feel like if he didn't say something dirty or double meaning in between the song, it's not a Bad Bunny song. Because even with Baile Inolvidable, it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful message, from beginning to end. The video is amazing. And you listen to the song, and the song is like completely PG. And then he says something like at the end, and it's like, oh my God. And then you remember, that's right, I'm listening to Bad Bunny. I remember hearing my son, who does not speak, he's not fluent in Spanish. He's getting better, and every day he gets better. And I heard him sing the song, and he sang all the words to the song, completely singing the song. And then he gets to the little hook and he says the phrase, and then I look at him and I'm like, do you know what you just said? And he's like, no, I'm singing. And then I translated the lyrics. I've never heard him sing the song again, like that part of the song again. Because he was saying it because he had no idea what he was saying, but he was liking it. And so it's little things like that, that you catch. But when you look at the overall picture, I was watching an interview that came out actually today with President Obama, and he said, where the lyrics, if we translate the lyrics, are they going to translate the best? Maybe not, but it was about culture. It was about, what he was presenting, how, I mean, it is the street culture. It is what you see out there, the neighborhood, the translation of the neighborhood, even the song, he did a song called El Apagón, which means the blackout. And the song doesn't necessarily like narrate the stories of the apagones, but it was just like the whole portrayal of it. It's like we all could identify, at least in the Caribbean, because in Dominican Republic it's the same thing. I think we talked about it before, where the electricity comes and goes, and in Puerto Rico it has become an even bigger problem because the electric companies have been privatized. So now, Puerto Ricans have a really high electric bill, and then they pay all this money for electricity, but the electricity is not always there, So it was a big complaint about that. But even the portrayal of that, like if you listen to the song, the lyrics of the song, they're really dirty, but when you hear the whole context of it, you like, it completely makes sense. So it was just, there was a message in everything was so strategic. Even the song Yo Perreo Sola, like if you listen to the song, you're like, okay, whatever, like what is he saying, but he was empowering women during that particular song. He's like, okay, now all the women in the world, you move your behind freely and nothing is holding you back. Be you, like be you. You're free to be you and be empowered. So it was like we can go down the line, every single song, and there was a meaning, there was a reason for putting that song there. There was a reason why the changes in staging, there was a message in every single. I Listen, I can talk for hours because there was something to be said everywhere.
Yeah, I loved it. Tell me why you love Lo que pasó en Hawaii. Why do you love that song?
Um, I love the song, one, because the lyrics are beautiful. It is, he says that when he wrote it, it was a love letter to his island, and that's exactly how it feels, like a love letter. It is a beautiful, it's a beautiful song that you wouldn't think that he would write. Like it's not him at all. That's the first thing. It doesn't sound like anything he has done. The second thing is, it's a protest. It's a protest. It's I'm standing up for my island. This is what they want to do to us. Like the chorus of the song says, they want to take our rivers. They want to take our town. They want grandma to leave, and they want to take your children. That's like a direct backhand complaint. They're coming into our country, they're taking possession of everything. Like that's what they're doing. They're buying people out of their homes so that they can build hotels and build tourism. They want everybody to leave. People leave because, again, they can't survive sometimes. And then you have people that are, we're not leaving, this is our island. So it's the lyrics, it's the message, it's he's saying, like, look what happened to Hawaii. This is what's going to happen to us if we keep going the way that we are going. Hawaii was an independent island, and then the US came and offered help, and next thing you know, they took over, and that's it. And it's like, Puerto Rico has been the have babies of the US, and it's like, yes, they're ours, but they're not ours. So, it's like the illegitimate child, it's like, yeah, you're my kid, but you don't deserve my last name, like that kind of thing, and it's like everything, it's a protest about that song. And I love that. It's a beautiful way, and he doesn't degrade anyone or anything. He's not saying I'm not grateful for what we've had, but this is what's happening, and we're not leaving. And then he says, even those who left, they dream with coming back. I mean, it's just it's a beautiful song. And I love that during his residency, I mean, again, going back to to him as an artist, he's a beautiful creative mind, but he is not the best singer. And even though the song, like, I'm used to listening to the song in his voice, it was just beautiful for him to make sure that the song was played in every show. And what he was doing was bringing artists, different Puerto Rican artists, because it was important for him that they were Puerto Rican artists when he was doing the residency, to come to the show and sing that song. Like, sing that song just with a guitar, like very organic, very, because again, it's a poem, it's a love letter. And he made it a point to highlight that in every single concert. And that's why, when I heard that he was going to be playing the Super Bowl, that was one of the things that I thought about. I'm like, is he going to do the same thing? And he did exactly the same thing. The guy that played the cuatro, right before Ricky Martin, he is the most famous cuatro player in Puerto Rico. And he's very well known for that. He went on tour. He's on tour with Bad Bunny, and he did all of the shows at the residency. So he played. So it was beautiful to see him. And then again, the whole scenery, the whole setup, of Ricky Martin singing in the setting was the picture of the album. It was the two chairs, and one chair is always purposely empty, representing those who are not there, anymore. It was just, the whole thing was just beautiful. So I love that song. And it's, like I said, it's my favorite because of the message, because of the beautiful lyrics, and for what it stands for.
Yeah, I love that we're still talking about it. Whether it's good or bad, I embrace both. So before we keep going, we just want to acknowledge Tangi. She said, "Hola, ladies," and Lily said, "Me encanta también esa parte de Hawaii." So yes. So yeah, so there was a lot of symbolism. I mean, just everything, right? The wedding, the little tienda, the casita, the young boy accepting the Grammy Award. I was telling my son about the part where he wakes up the little kid that's sleeping on the chair, because it's a late night, so we could all connect to that. And I just think it was amazing. Outside of the curse words, like the blue language, Mark was asking us, our producer, about the blue language. So outside of that, I have to be transparent because that's my thing. um I saw a post on Facebook of a friend that I have on Facebook, and she's Dominican, and she talked negative about the performance because she felt that it was vulgar. And I
Mhm.
she's not my friend anymore on Facebook. I just felt some type of way, like, and I know it's Facebook and it's probably childish, but I really I didn't. I can see how people can see that as vulgar, right? I can see how the curse words, but even curse words weren't really there because the NBA, the NFL has certain restrictions as to how the show has to be performed, right? So, like, I get
Mhm.
all of that, but I think it's so much bigger. It's so much bigger than the blue language, the colors, the everything. It's the message, the big message that was sent out to everyone. And I
Mhm.
continue to be high on the message, and I
Mhm.
continue to feel proud that that is my culture, and I completely embrace it. And I think kind of like the gentleman from the Breakfast Club was saying, is just, to me, is lack of knowledge, ignorancia, right? That you just don't know. And I think
Yep.
I appreciate more the people that may not say anything because they don't know what to say or how to like put words together to describe it, versus, I just think it's just lack of culture, to be honest with you, because it's not because it's Hispanic, but just anything. If somebody were to, I don't know a lot about the, let's say, Indian culture, right? So if somebody were to perform from India, I've heard Indian music before and I enjoy it. I like the beat and I don't know what they're saying. And I love the way they dress and the colors and all that stuff. And I would embrace it. And maybe I would do my homework and find out what the lyrics meant. I would do that to learn. But I wouldn't knock it because it's different to what I'm used to. And I think this has opened up our eyes to a lot of different cultures to open up our minds a little bit, to embrace something different. So that's my thought about that. So yesterday, no, not yesterday, but Friday evening, Maddie was our guest. I'm part of a commission here in the city of Hampton. So it was a city event, and it was we do a Unity Awards every year, and so Maddie was one of our performers, and I just thought it was amazing because she was able to do a poem, and she found her way to put Bad Bunny in the poem, and I just thought that was amazing that you did that. I loved it. Tell me about your experience with the with the event on Friday.
Oh, the event was it was beautiful. First, very thankful for the opportunity, and it was so much fun to be exposed to an audience that you normally wouldn't be able to be in front of, or to be able to speak freely. It was funny because the first time that I interviewed with the organizers, that we had a conversation over the phone, I was like, let me ask you, can I cuss? Can I say curse words? What is it gonna be like? And he's like, well, first, I appreciate you asking, because sometimes, we just, bring people over and people just say whatever they want to say, and they don't even take into consideration, I should have asked first, and he's like, well, my 3-year-old daughter is going to be there, and, whatever. And he's like, okay, what's the curse word? And, usually, like, I'm I'm very PG because I'm very rehearsed and I don't like to make stuff on the spot. So I try not to put stuff in my poems that I have to take away, because, sometimes when you're the moment, when you're nervous, you forget to edit yourself. So I don't like to feel like that. Um, but I share the words with him, and he's like, well, I would rather you not say them. So if you can correct them or whatever. And it was more for our dual poem, because I did a piece by myself, and then I did a poem with my teammate Luana Portales from last year's team. And when I told him the curse words, he was like, I would rather you not say them, presenting. But when I share, kind of the words of the poems and things like that, he loved it. And, he's like, I like where you're going with it. So, the day before, Thursday, I went to do a run through, and when I got up there, we were like, going through the stage setting and everything. And then he's like, you don't have to do both of your poems. If you want to practice one, you can. And I wasn't thinking that I was going to go there and do my poem, but I did. And of course, the 5-10 people that were in there, everybody was like, oh my God, they loved it. But then the day off, of course, I was caught up in traffic, and it was crazy getting there. And I finally got there, so I finished getting ready. And then they're like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I start walking in the back, and of course, everything was like dark, and I'm supposed to stand behind the screen, and I completely missed the stage, so I stumbled head first, and all you heard was boom, 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 boom. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And then, like, literally maybe 10 or 15 seconds after I almost busted my face, the screen comes up. So I'm like, and I just took a deep breath and I go up there. And then, they had told me, "Oh, we're going to introduce you," or whatever. So I'm like waiting for the intro to happen, but I didn't know that the intro had already happened. So I'm like standing there, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go into poem. So I did my first piece, and I was purposely again wearing red, white, and blue, which are the colors of the Dominican flag. And then I did have like a little flag with me, so I put it like on my waist, and I did my poem with my Dominican flag. And again, it was very well received. And then when we did our second poem, which is a dual piece, and it was speaking about language and accents, but it was more fun and a protest at the same time. And again, I was a little scared of how it was going to be received. And again, people loved it. So just grateful to be in that space, to be able to reach a different audience. And not only that, for our words to be received so well. So I'm very thankful. So thank
Oh
you.
yeah, it was awesome. So the Unity Commission is part of the city of Hampton in Virginia, and so they ensure that the city of Hampton has a welcoming aspect to people that come and visit or people that want to live in the city of Hampton, and they're very supportive of all the inclusive citizens that live in the city of Hampton. So regardless of race, color, class, religion, age, income, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, all of those things. So the Unity Commission does a great job with this particular award. I have been, this was my second year being a part of it, of helping organizing it. And I just love the diversity that comes into this one room. Last year and this year was performed at the American Theater, which is a small theater here in the city of Hampton. But they're small, but they're very active. And so I love that I live in Hampton. I love that my business is in Hampton, and I enjoy when Maddie is in Hampton because it's like right down the street, and I can make it to her event. But I just love. We've had the guest before, Vidal, and he's also part of the commission. And when we were talking about who can potentially come and perform, we both looked at each other. We're like, "Oh my God, we should bring Maddie on," you know? So it was like a no brainer. And I text Maddie the same evening, and she said yes. So then I linked her up with whoever was making the final decision. But I think we need more of that. I think it's exposure. Yes, we know about Black History Month, and we're in Black History Month now, and we know the United States, and we know everything that the United States does, and the Statue of Liberty, and all the freedoms and all the diversity and culture that the United States represents. But to actually hear culture in your art, of spoken word, of poetry, I think it kind of takes people to a different level. I know after the show, I saw a couple of people that came up to you just to kind of tell you how appreciative they were of the words that you were expressing. Um, we had no idea you fell. We had no idea you were lost for a second. It was flawless from our end. And even the Thursday evening when you were practicing, one of the ladies, she was like, "Oh my gosh," she was like, "Thanks, Viviana, because she's great. I love it." And I just think that the work that you do, similar to Bad Bunny, right? Being an artist, being able to have a platform where you can express, it's not just words, but it's a message. It's a message of love, and it's a message to remind the rest of us that we're all human beings, and that we all struggle through similar things, right? The mental health issues, or financial issues, family issues, health issues. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. you're going to go through life issues, and at the end of the day, we should be there to be able to support each other. And I think that that is a huge message that the Unity Commission does here in the city of Hampton. So we were very proud to have you as part of the celebration. It happens once a year, and so we were proud to have you. And it brought, and it's crazy because a couple of months ago you were performing at a art studio, kind of like right across the street. Do you remember?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So I love all of that. I love that we can embrace diversity, and I'm sure not everyone loved what you said, but I would say a good 98% was like, whew, because it's very refreshing to hear you do your words.
Let me tell you, half of the people, more than half of the people, I will probably say 80% of everybody that approached us afterwards didn't speak Spanish. They did not
Mhm.
speak Spanish. And they came up to us and they were like, oh my God, you guys were great. I love your message. And, like they were very receptive and, oh my God, you were amazing and your words. And of course, like right when we finished that, we were coming off the stage to kind of sit with everybody else. This lady, I don't know who she was, but she like made it a point to stop us. And she was like crying, literally in tears. And she said, you don't understand, like what you said, what you guys said, you represent me. You're speaking for me. And she was like, representation matters. And she said it in Spanish. She's like, gracias, te agradezco, muchas gracias. And it was like, and I'm not gonna say that it happens a lot, but it does happen. And when it happens, it just never gets old. It just never gets old, to kind of feel that you go up there and you're nervous and you're like shaking in your boots and you don't know, it could go really well and it could go really bad, and I remember, again, being on stage and like looking down and like if I looked straight ahead, I couldn't see anybody because the light was hitting me in the face. But if I looked down, I could see like the people that were sitting in the front row, which were like the important people, and they were like literally like I could see them staring at me and I could look and I'm like, okay, reminding myself, don't look that way, look up, so just again grateful to be in the room, grateful that the message was well received and that they enjoyed it. I have to say, like when I went for the practice on Thursday, I heard that there was gonna be somebody else was doing spoken word too, and I was like, okay, am I, gonna have to compete with this message? And then, it was like they had spoken word and then dancing, with it as well. And while it was beautiful, it was very different than what we did. So, I was like, okay, I was relieved that it was not the same thing or along the same lines. It was completely different. And again, our performance stood out. Not that it stood out from everything, but it was different from everything else that was presented as well. So that's kind of, I didn't want to be doing the same thing that somebody else was doing, and it stood out in a good way. So again, very, I'm happy. I'm happy I made you proud, Viviana. Thank you for mentioning my name, and just happy to be in the room.
Yeah. And Lily wants to know que si le escuchaste los gritos de ella. Did you hear her screaming at the top of her lungs on Friday? She's competing for the number one fan spot with me.
I love her. Like when we finished, my husband was like, "Okay, let's leave," and I was like, "No, I can't leave without saying, hi to everybody." And you were like, "My mom came just to see you," So I was like, "Okay, I gotta get a hug in before I leave." So,
Yeah.
but thank you. I appreciate you so much.
Yeah, it was great. I loved it. And because it's about I'm not a believer of hoarding information or hoarding talent. So every chance I get to, if there's an opportunity, like I'm mentioning your name, whether you were on the show with me or not, I just think that you have great talent and people need to hear it. Just like, every show we mentioned that we contribute $4.3 trillion to the economy, right? Um, is it true? Is it 4.3?
Last time we counted, yeah, we got to do our research. Promise for next week we'll have more accurate numbers.
Well, anything above 4 trillion, like I'm good. 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, doesn't matter. It is definitely above $4 trillion. And if you are Latino or Latina, you are contributing to this number. So feel extremely proud that that you contribute to the number, and let people know that as Latinos, we contribute $4.3 trillion to the economy here in the United States. And that number continues, it has continued to kind of stay, considering the amount of people that have been deported back to their countries. We continue to be strong. We continue to make efforts. People continue to purchase homes and continue to grow their businesses. So feel proud that you are part of that percentage. So just know that that's your contribution to things. What else? Yeah. So one thing, Maddie, I wanted to ask you. Yes, Super Bowl. Yes, Sotomayor. Yes, Maddie Garcia, Viviana Andrade. Like all these people are contributing to community, right? What are some things that maybe you have thought about that you need to do a little bit different to help people, to help other people understand the significance or the value of Latinos in this country? What's something that you, Maddie Garcia, can do to contribute to that, to spread the message?
I think, exactly. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. I think, like I keep saying, I'm so grateful to have this platform so that we can educate and that we can have those conversations. Like we keep saying, this show happened a week ago and we're still having it. I really hope that, with even with what I do, that the people that got to see me perform on Friday, that I had an effect on them and that I forced them to have conversations, to kind of look at what's happening. I performed that same poem probably 2 weeks ago at another event, and a person came up to me and said, like, I know that sometimes, people that have accents can feel a certain way or whatever, but for you to portray like this, I am so sorry you felt that you've had to feel this way. So it forced this person to look at how my feelings, my story, my journey, to look at my journey and be like, oh my God, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And nobody has to go through that. And it's forced this person to look at my trajectory, my learning, my growing in a completely different way, and that he understood, what I was feeling. So again, having conversations, if my work can force people to have conversations, to even educate yourself, to maybe look at things in a different way that maybe we haven't, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So again, eternally grateful to be able to have this platform, to have conversations, to educate people, to voice my opinion, because at the end of the day, that's what my poems are. My poems are my opinion, my sentiment, my experience. And then sometimes I say this all the time, sometimes when you write a poem, you think you write your poem for yourself. You're thinking that you're writing this poem for yourself, but you never know. This happens. You go on stage and you say your poem, and then you have 10 people that are like, oh my God, you were speaking to me. You were telling my story. No, that was my story. No, you're telling my story. And then you bump into that. So again, if I can do that, if I can force somebody to kind of look at things differently, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's awesome. So before we go to your poem for the day, we want to say hello to Sola, Veronica Sola, Tangi, Olga Torres, Nancy Sutachan, Lily Matos, and whoever else may be watching us. We don't know you're watching unless you make a comment. So you have to type something on the comments or put a thumbs up or put a heart or something so we can kind of say your name. Um, but yeah, so our producer Mark just said that Latin workers are projected to account for nearly 78% of all the new net workers in the United States this decade. So these are big numbers that we need to be aware. I think whether
Mhm.
you're Latino or not, you should know these numbers. I know when I see numbers, I kind of always think about marketing because I'm like, oh, I need to target those people, because they're growing or. Uh, so we could do that. So Mark also said Latino-owned businesses employ about 3 million people and contribute over 800 billion annually to the economy. So these are again big numbers that we're a part of, and we should embrace it and be proud of.
hmm And talking about, symbolism and everything that happened, like I keep saying, going back to the show, there was a purpose for everything. And all of the businesses that Bad Bunny was highlighting, aside from being traditional, they were actual businesses. So there was a coconut person selling stuff. That was an actual business. There was a taco person there. He has 3 taco trucks or whatever stations. So he was an active business. The piragüero, the person selling piragua there, he has a piragua business in Puerto Rico, and he was actually a professional basketball player that transitioned from playing professional ball to that business, and he used to play for the team that Bad Bunny owns now in Puerto Rico. So like the people that were there were key people. Even though he went to the jewelry person, that's an actual business too. And I don't know if you noticed that, but he gave him a ring, and like in the song Titi Me Preguntó, he's not getting married, so he passed it to somebody else, and the guy got on his knee. That was the couple that got married. Like, I don't know if you peeped that at the beginning,
Yeah.
but he got on his knee. That was the same couple that got married later on, during the show. So everything, there was a symbolism for everything. When he was in the Nueva York, part of the show, the place, the Marqueta, is an actual business. Toñitas is an actual business. The barber shop, and he had everybody's addresses listed on the top of every business. So again, there was a reason for everything that was on there, and he could have made it about himself, his songs, his business, but he made it about everybody else. And I think that's the beauty, and that's what I don't want people to miss. Yes, his lyrics might not be the best, but everything that he's been doing with a purpose, with a purpose. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't need any more millions, and he says it all the time. I love that about him. He's very humble. He dresses very, like, not like an artist. He's like an everyday kind of person, and he makes it an effort, for people to know that he is a regular person. So everything extra that he's doing to bring up other people with him, and not just to bring himself up. So, we
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 love
all
it.
should do a little bit more of that.
Yes, yes, I agree. Well, we're ready for your poem. Uh, so take it away.
Okay, so again, this is the poem that I did on Friday. I'll do this one because just Viviana kind of hinted to it. I was gonna do an old Spanish poem, but I'll save that one for next week as well. So but yeah, so this poem, it's after a poem that Luana Portales, my teammate, wrote. And when I read her poem, I had to write my version of it. So, for years, I carried shame between my teeth. The daughter of immigrants who never really learned to speak English. The enemy I learned to keep close. A jack in the box that would surprise me whenever it would come out, making me the clown. You see, in my head, the words always made perfect sense. But then my thoughts would hit my tongue, my lips, the words doing backflips, a reminder que aquí se habla español, that I will never fully earn my place. Born in the land of the free, but to Trump lovers, I will always be an other for being the daughter of foreigners. Spanish will forever be my safe space. But English loves to keep me caged, never freely accepted. The weight of the world reflected on how heavy it gets when I speak it. That instead of trying to understand me, all you hear is aquí se habla español. That 50 years later, I'm still trying to convince my tongue that we are enough, that my Spanish will never take away, it will always be a plus. My English, regardless of how broken, can only build me up. That we deserve to roam every single space that we occupy. Like Celia Cruz's face, immortalized in a US currency coin, an Afro Latina made famous for her salsa and her azúcar en español. Dolores Huerta, fighting for the basic rights of migrant workers, teaching Americans que sí se puede en español. Or Bad Bunny headlining the biggest event in American culture, singing Debí tirar más fotos de cuando te tuve. Sí, aquí siempre se va a hablar español. Los ancestros, la guía, este acento, historia, bravía de quienes fuimos y de quien soy. And for everyone that cringes whenever you hear my accent, you are correct. Aquí se habla español.
That's right. I love it. Veronica said, "Wepa." Yes, I love that poem when you do that.
Thank you.
It's amazing. So I just encourage everyone to, as Maddie would say, educate yourselves as much as you can. Different cultures, different. You could do it through music. You could do it through food. You could do it through traveling. So just challenge yourself to do something different. One day this week. I know in every city, there's the city's always trying to make their cities a better city. So most cities bring different cultures, different events. So visit your local theaters, your local parks and rec. Even if you go and watch a basketball game of little kids that are 4 and 5 years old, just do something different this week to encourage you to explore and do something different. So we're super excited of seeing you again next Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And I hope that everyone has an amazing week on purpose, as Tangi would say. So thank you so much. And thank you, Maddie, again, for your talents and for your time. And Mark as well, our producer. So we thank you. And we will see you next week, again, 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
Liz Gutierrez. I am the founder and CEO of Enterprising Latinas. We believe that when women do well, their children do better, and the community does too. As a woman, there are many barriers that we have to overcome beyond the barriers of our own mindset. We're working to address the underlying issues that cause these disparities in health and in wealth in our communities, challenges like transportation or the lack of, challenges like unaffordable or unattainable or inaccessible childcare, challenges like access to workforce development training and education, challenges of capital. As a founder of this organization, I think that my inspiration has come from my own mother, who was a trailblazer, who was a warrior woman. My mother broke all the rules. I'm an extension of that.
Whether you're a seasoned designer, dabbler, or just starting out, this course is for you.
are just so impressed with them. Like I said, we've been with them for years. I will recommend and refer anyone to them. We stand by A+ academics. They're the best.
A+ tutorial really did help me with all my grades. They all went up when I came to this place. And I would say I recommend this school to everyone.
So it's a really good environment to be in, especially for me because it makes me look up to my parents.
If you have students that need academic help, A+ Academics is the place to be. A+ Academics, what a great place to go for academics.
It's just a really great place to learn.